yourself.
You saw the text. You saw the rundown of what we talking about. The floor is your besides the last thing of the last two at the bottom. Well, those are the last two things we're gonna do. But outside of all that, what do you want to touch on first? What are we getting into?
I want to let's go to let's talk about how is the WWE and TNA partnership so far. And I know I read it the other way. That's me. I forgot what they call that. But if I want to put my stamp on that, I think the partnership is very well. And like I said, I always hate to bring up those guys across the street, but they had a partnership with TNA as well, AEW, and if I remember, it was really just Kenny, winning the TNA championship and bringing the AEW championship over to Impact a couple times. I may be wrong, but what his deal is now with WWE and TNA, we seeing Joe Hendry. He been popping up on their programming from on NXT back last year. Popped up at the Royal Rumble. What great exposure is that? Who would have thought? In a Vince McMahon era, there's no way I would have. Well, I guess you did have the Knockouts champion, but you weren't seeing, both Knockouts champion and a TNA champion on Royal Rumbles like that. Not even that, having a match at WrestleMania even with Randy Orton. And look, I'll say this in my last stamp of how I think the partnership is going. I think it's going great because if you look at it, I know people will say Randy squashed Joe Hendry, but I don't know. I don't think he did. Because if it was a squash, it would have been like he would have came out, did his little thing, and then he got RKO. But he ain't got a lot of his stuff in, but he got a little bit of he ain't get his, shit in, but he got his stuff in.
You have to look before you cross the street, and he has to get
Yeah,
his
yeah,
shit
they
in. Like
they not they not too far away. Sometimes I be thinking she in the doing the Hogan. But to put all that in the bowl, I think that the TNA WWE partnership is going. It's been really well, and it's been making a lot of sense. Even like with the Hardys, popping up on NXT, for instance, it's the Hardys, so of course they gonna always be related WWE to WWE. You gonna see them and always relate them to it. So even them popping through it, I don't. It's working out really well, I would say.
Yeah, I do think it's working out really well. Huge shout out to Justin. Say no more. I'm there. We got Justin for next Thursday, 7 o'clock our
I'm
time,
gonna do
which is
like
pretty
50
much right
push-ups that
now.
day, man. I'm
Look,
ready.
can't wait. Of course, it's gonna make this quiz a whole lot easier with Devin get dusted. Man, it's gonna
Yeah.
be absolutely
See.
insane. Oh man, and a huge shout out to our brother Devin the Tribal Chief. What's good, people? Look, man, a huge shout out to Devin the Tribal Chief, man. He was on the program before, lit this place up, man. That is by far one of my favorite, still one of my favorite clips. Where it's just like, well, I
I
don't
don't
give
give a
a
fuck
fuck.
about his
Like,
story,
I
man.
don't give a
Yeah.
fuck. Like he was legit. He was serious. It got to the point where, and I think I told this story before. My
I
sister,
almost cried.
no, like my sister, like WrestleMania week, WrestleMania month, I guess. She was all deep, knee deep into like wrestler reactions, just telling me all these random people. She was like, "Yeah, I even watched Wheezy, the girl that we ran into. We actually made it to her vlog." But then she goes, "Yeah, I also watched Devin the Tribal Chief," and I was like, "You watched Devin the Tribal Chief?" It's funny you say that. I was like,
It's
because
funny
he's a
you
friend of
say
the
that.
program. But like Devin we see the numbers continue to rise. Exactly. We see the success, we see the growth, and we love it. We love it. We love it. We love it. So we gotta glaze Devin when we can because look, man, the dude is a legit tribal chief. Gotta acknowledge the man.
From one Devin to another, I acknowledge you.
See, here we go. Devin got to make it by himself, man.
I
I was trying to give my man's praise, and he was
I
getting
hated
his rejection, man.
it.
You see,
I mean, but I couldn't miss it. There's some things you just can't let go. Y'all was sitting there just like I gotta say it from one Devin to another. You know, if I was back in there, you know, I would have been like, hey, I gotta go out there and say that one part in the promo. I gotta say that one part. We only got 5 minutes. Hey, screw you. I gotta say that part.
You that dude that had a promo in the very first, like in the beginning of the show, you like in the middle, like halfway, second hour, you like, oh, hold on, I forgot my line. I forgot to get my
Damn.
shit in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I'll be like, I may not never get this chance again. I may come on and they'll be, oh, you know what, Devin, we don't need you this week. You never know.
You never know. I'm telling you, you never know. Huge shout out to Devin the Tribal Chief. I appreciate that, brothers. Hell yeah, bro. And it's always lit too because I do like looking at the reactions, the reactions to the beginning of a Raw, pretty much the Raw after whatever PLE it is. And sometimes we will see Devin the Tribal Chief. There was one time we did hear Justin say that they were on there. That was when we first started becoming friends and started communicating with the Circle of Debate after we stopped, being a little shy. So after we got out of our
Still
bubble,
shy.
still
That's
a little
him.
shy.
He bust out his bubble. I'm just like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
trying.
man. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that on air. We can talk about that later if it's cool. Because I don't want to say anything crazy, and have you
Dang,
think
he
crazy
just
things
came
about.
out of nowhere.
Well, I want to talk about it, but I want to be like, why would you say that to me right now? Like on something like, but like, it's not nothing crazy at all. But like, huge shout out
Dang,
to
all I
Get
said
Yo.
I was shy. All right, go ahead.
No, huge shout out to Get Yo. Huge shout out to Get Yo. We got to link up with them pretty soon. And also with Justin. Justin says, I originally felt like it was a slight burial what happened to Joe Hendry at Mania, but it was all about giving him his first WrestleMania moment. Yeah, I mean, Joe Hendry, of
While
course.
he's TNA champion.
Yeah, while he's TNA champion. The TNA champion, I don't think has ever had this many eyes on them in a long while. Joe Hendry, of course, becoming viral off of his song. Of course, he's also a really good wrestler. He was also wrestling in WCPW. You know that What Culture? He was wrestling in their promotion. That's how far Joe Hendry goes back. I mean, how far? It ain't like it's 20 years ago. But that's how long Joe Hendry's been wrestling. For most people that think he just bust out just now. So you got to show
Not just a
love to
flash
Joe
in the
Hendry.
pan.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of people are gonna have that WrestleMania moment and that WrestleMania paycheck. My boy got paid. Let's be honest. My boy Joe Hendry got paid. You could have punt kicked him. He didn't care. Like he would could care less. At that point. So although TNA, look, TNA is what TNA is what TNA is gonna be. Like TNA is what TNA
That's why
is.
it worked.
I don't think TNA can't go down. Like they could have I don't mean to be nasty with it, but they could have pretty much just crapped all over the dude, on TV, and yet the TNA championship and the TNA champion would be what it is the next day afterwards. Like I don't think TNA could go any lower. If I'm not trying to be disrespectful to TNA, but I think this partnership only rises it because of guys like, well, let me share it right here. If we could just skip over to our next topic here, if I can press the right button. But if we can move over to the Trick Williams, because in his words, he crashed out on Joe Hendry on TNA when he popped up and attacked Joe Hendry at TNA Rebellion. Devin, you see this?
Yes, I do. I was looking in the wrong spot, but I see it.
Oh, geez, now my screen froze. There it goes. Of course, Joe Hendry successfully retained the TNA Championship, pinning Ethan Page in a match that also featured Frankie Kazarian, his old ass. But just, of course, TNA had their rebellion, had it going on, and Trick Williams came through, and in his words, he crashed out and popped up and kneed Joe Hendry in his face after Joe Hendry popped up and pretty much called him a bitch on NXT. So,
Might pop out tonight.
and he might even pop out tonight. And even in saying that, going through with what Trick Williams has done and the great work that Trick Williams and Ethan Page have done, this is a whole lot of fun, this partnership. And it's only, like you mentioned before, Kenny Omega. I feel like that partnership was only, I'm not saying it was only for Kenny Omega, but pretty much just made it about Kenny Omega. He's the belt collector. He's just here just collecting belts. He's grabbing the TNA championship. He didn't even hold it for that long. So with this whole turnaround, we could be seeing an NXT superstar win a TNA championship. This could be a whole takeover, literally. I'm bringing this bitch home with me. Like this, how cool this could be and how awesome this could turn into. just the plethora of ideas we can have. We can have a TNA invasion, an NXT, and we're already kind of having already an NXT invasion going on. Hell, Obafemi, when Joe Hendry was speaking up to him, don't let what happened to Moose happen to you. Like why you got to be disrespectful like that, homie? Like is that deep now? We're starting to get some spice here, and I think it's only going up, and it might make me watch TNA. It might. I might sit down and watch
It's
TNA.
sad it took WWE to hold their hand for you to watch it, man. Cause see, my thing is, as great as this partnership is, where was this leniency back in 2009 or 8 or 7? Why I couldn't get like AJ Styles and John Cena back in '07 back then?
But I
It could have
told you
been even fire.
my grandparents were still alive, so they look, man. It was. I told you, my grandparents that they saw TNA on their TV screen once, and they was like, no,
The era I'm
no.
literally referring to aired in high definition. How
Dang.
old could that be? How
No,
old could that
I
be?
said my parents were still alive as we were watching wrestling together.
Oh, I thought you said grandparents. I was like, well, dang, it ain't
Yeah,
this
my
old.
grandparents are still alive. I
Look,
thought Devin was just like, man, your old ass. He was like you.
this man was like, I'm like, dang, it was just 2008. What was you doing? But no, the point I'm trying to make is, oh, what's good? See, I as soon as I was like, the point I'm trying to make is, but that's what I'm saying. I was watching it when it was like I said, Thursday back then on Spike. When Christian Cage ran out of stuff to do, he popped over to TNA. Kurt Angle, obviously, he popped over there. You had Sting there because he wasn't going to WWE yet. Only thing it's Samoa Joe, which will lead to him later. Point I'm trying to make is, I guess I'm so excited as everything you just mentioned, like potentially, like say if Trick Williams pop over there, him and Joe Hendry get into it to a point, they get a title match, and say if Trick does beat him for the TNA Championship, for instance, now he's an NXT champion, I mean superstar, and also a TNA like it's possibility, it could happen. He could cross the line, as they be saying, but.
Yeah, you go
I
ahead.
guess, like I said, the excitement of this is making me go, man. Imagine like if maybe like 10 years ago, if they made like better decisions, and we could have got like I don't know, life could have been just stuff flying. Cars would have been more efficient. We wouldn't have had no pollution because we would have got Sting versus the Undertaker back in like 2010 or something before Undertaker became Undertaker. But no. So I mean, I'm just gonna prosper and be grateful for what we got now. But I'm always gonna be hurting thinking about what we could have got back in the day.
Honestly. And even going to what Devin the Tribal Chief is going, he said, wait, you not watching TNA? See, that's the
Him.
thing.
That's him.
Yeah, I was like, one of us
Him.
has given TNA their hard-earned money. I, for one, I watch pretty much the TNA reactions. I don't watch the show. I get what happens based off the clips. And I was
Don't
even
mind
talking to
me.
Devin about this because Devin was like, hey man, I ain't gonna lie, you might have to get into this subscription. And I was like, man, it's looked like it's coming to be that point. So even with even with everything going on, Devin always tells me, bro, you gotta watch TNA, you gotta get into TNA. And honestly, I have been so disrespectful. It's me. I'm the bad guy. And now, honestly, they got my attention now. I'm ready to watch I'm ready to go deep into TNA for sure. Even Justin comes in and says before the partnership was officially announced, it felt
This is how far back we go. That's how far back we go, man. See, you went out there during these days. You went out there in that six-sided ring. You wasn't doing it like me, man. You just wasn't. You went out there with the Kurt Angle on the cover. Look at that. Who is that? Who is? Hold on. Let me get this right. Who is? You got Samoa Joe. He one of the ops now. You got King Booker. Look at he already doing ah. Then you got AJ. And you got Sting. Come on now. You was loaded back in the day. You was just sitting up there just. I only watch WWE. My stomach can only have enough of WWE.
well, I'm sorry. If I had $5.99 at the time, I would have bought it. I would have paid for it. I'm sorry.
It was full price when it came out. What do you mean? This
I'm
is
sorry.
before all this stuff going on now. That was it was at the same price as SmackDown versus Raw now. Just had to get it a month later.
I just had to get it a month later. See, and honestly, and even going back and watching, because like I've talked about this before, uh, I I was new. Like I had to watch Circle of Debate to get into New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then of course that had to lead me back to going back to watching Okada matches. And I'm like, man, this dude's a demon. You know, I'm like, this is some demonic work going on here. And so like even going back and even looking at some of the not only TNA highlights, but going back and watching some TNA shows, watching Jeff Hardy spaz out of his mind. No disrespect, but you know he was. You know, there was one time I forgot what show it was, but at the very end, he's like singing his own theme music, and I'm like, all right, brother, like you might need to go to sleep. You know, you might have to lay down after this one. But
That's
you
how
kept the
old this
receipt.
is. I have every receipt. I have every
You kept the
invoice.
receipt.
All right. I learned from the best. What CM Punk say he did? He kept every receipt, every invoice. But people like to play in your face and say
You
you
kept
did
the.
stuff you didn't. This is how I'm trying not to put my real information out there. But you remember this place? This is how old this is. This is how
Is
old
that
I am.
game crazy? Oh, that's
Yeah,
sick.
yeah, crazy, man.
That's sick. That's sick work. So it was
PS3
$5.99. That's
gaming
what I'm
crazy.
hearing. It was $5.99.
It was full price. So that should
What
tell
is
you everything
full
you need to know.
price? What is full
Full
price?
price, man. They wanted 50 for that thing. So
Man, that's sickening.
it's
That
hey, it's a better game than AEW Fight Forever. I will say that till I'm blue in the face, and I can't even do that.
I played a
I will
trial
say
of
that,
that.
man. I
Oh,
will tell everybody until they can't listen to me that TNA. I will play that right now before I install AEW. But I'm sorry, I digress.
see, man, yeah, I was reading Justice text. He disrespected me, showing me an equivalent to NBA Live, and this is how he repays just.